Jane going to be here this evening?
Um, Obviously running late.
Well, she's sort of grabbing a burrito or something.
Oh, was she? Okay, call this regular session to order, Wednesday, September 18th. Time is 7. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll open it up for visitor comments. I'm not sure if your mic's on, so hold on just a minute, and I'll have you state your name for the record after he gets you turned on. He's going to help you out here. There you go.
Hello, better?
Yep.
All right. Excuse me, I got a cold, so
Yep.
if I dwell into Barry White voice, then just understand. Frank Brandon from St. Helens here. Couple of things I want to talk about. Number one, over a year ago, there was a candidate forum that the Chronicle held, and at least 3 of you on this up there were there when, out of the blue, a question came up, and the topic was 20 is plenty.
Yes.
Which was just brought up, and what did you think of it? Did you think it was wonderful? Did you not? And nobody really objected to it because it's a good thing. I get that. Now we're going to take that, just table it for a little while. 50th anniversary of Woodstock just happened, and I remember at the movie of Woodstock, at one point they introduced the man who owned the farm that they put him on. And he got up there, and they introduced Max Yasgur, and he got up there and he said, "I'm just a simple farmer." And I think like that sometimes. I'm just a simple citizen of St. Helens here. I vote, I own property, I pay taxes, I live 4 blocks up on the hill. And sometimes, in all of the time that I come here and watch these meetings, I see some things that make me ask questions. So I'm going to bring up some things that concern me. Last fall, Councilor Locke, at the end of one of the meetings, said, "You know, I'm really concerned about this St. Helens Street and First over here. It's been bothering him for a number of years. He brought it up some more. It's like, what can we do about that so nobody dies?" And then I went to Ms. Nelson, and she said, it's not as simple as putting up another stop sign. You got to do some things because there's rules, there's guidelines, whatever. So you got some consultants. You got some consultants here, and this all is going to tie into 5C on your agenda tonight. What are these? Kittleson and Associates. You got them. Now, on March 6th, it was at your meeting, representative from Kittleson and Associates came in here and gave a summary of some things that they had done. One of the things that they done was measured the amount of traffic in the busiest hour of the day, which they designated as between 4 and 5. And Councilor Carlson said, "You know, you're doing this in January. Come down here on a Thursday in the summertime. Come down here in October, and let's judge the amount of traffic. A cold week in January is not necessarily indicative of the traffic flow." Nevertheless, the judgment was made at that point that the amount of traffic flowing in that hour was not enough to mandate some set of changes. And the man had some comments here for a while, and there was discussion. Councilor Locke asked him if he'd spoken to any of the citizens, and he said, "Well, no. But if we go forward, we're going to have public engagement meetings," and I guess I missed them because I don't know. Councilor Topaz talked about, can we just put out some like stanchions or traffic cones and see what happens. Will people slow down? And he said, well, we'd think about that if we went forward. It appears we've gone forward. So we're going forward. That first little bunch of things, I don't remember what it cost, like $15,000, $18,000, $12,000. Okay, that's good, $12,000. This one, the going forward here, cost $67,000. And what's interesting to me is there's a lot of hours being billed here. And the guy who leads this is going to bill you at $229.29 an hour. That's a little under $4 a minute. So if you ever see this guy, don't ask him how his weekend was, because it's going to cost you money. The cheapest guy on this, cheapest person, gets $75 an hour. That's what they bill at. That's a lot of money. That's $75 an hour. Work that one out. It's about $150,000 a year. That's a lot of money. So these guys are going to charge you $67,000 to come up with the detailed plan. Then it's going to go out to bid for the people who are actually going to do the work. All that's going to cost some money. And again, there's not a lot of money to go around. Ms. Nelson again said she had budgeted some money, but we had to be careful not to spend it all because we're going to use some of that for crack sealing, which is important. That's also on tonight's thing. And for some other things, we can't put it all into one intersection. Sometimes I think you got to be careful of what you wish for. We wish for a safe intersection. We wish for nobody to die. The bare bones of this, if it's all done, is going to be between $200,000 and $250,000. And I understand it's part of the grand corridor here. If they do it fancy with pretty signs and little things in the concrete, it's going to be about $300,000. Be careful what you wish for, because you're going to get an intersection for $300,000 or $250,000. That's $250,000. And what are you going to get when you got it done? Pretty much the same damn thing as you got right now. You're going to have a stop sign on two corners. You're going to have, they're going to bump out the sidewalks. That's a good thing. It'll slow things down. That 70-foot walkway will narrow down. But my goodness, should we spend $250,000 to do something like this? If it saves lives, if you can, absolutely, then that's a wonderful thing. But couldn't you just say, okay, 20 is plenty. 4-way stop sign. Bump out the sidewalks. Public Works people could do that. Do you need to hire somebody and put them out to bid to do that? You could eliminate some parking spots for some visibility, and voila, you got a safer intersection. It doesn't cost you $250,000. Put a speed camera in there, a camera at the end. For those who don't stop at the stop sign, and Police Chief Greenway can have a police intern look at it, charge somebody $200 for every rolling stop. That'll start paying off of some of these things. It just seems to me that we're spending a lot of money to make something really pretty when you need something that's really practical in addition. I just, that's a lot of money. You want a stop sign.
That's all I want.
That's all he wants. I'm sure you know the old story of for want of a nail, a kingdom was lost. Oh, we're spending a lot of money here to get pretty much what we've already got. And there's some steps that you could probably take here that could bring this cost down a whole lot. I started out mentioning about Woodstock. In 1978, the Sex Pistols did their only tour of the United States. Their last show was in San Francisco. At the very end of the show, Johnny Rotten looked out at the audience and he said, "Did you ever get the feeling you've been cheated?" I get the feeling we're being cheated here. This is $250,000. That's what I got to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Frank. Other visitor comments?
I don't know, can we disinfect this if you had a cold?
I got two things I wanted to bring up. One was something that I brought up about a year ago because we're talking about intersections and stuff, and that is that it's continuously getting worse, and that is 4th and Old Portland. I'm finding it to become extremely difficult. My trailers, I got a camper and a utility trailer. I'm only talking about, what, 10, 12 feet extra length on my truck. I'm starting to be concerned because of the amount of people that speed coming around those corners coming down Old Portland. Basically, you look to the left, you look to the right, you stare to the left and punch it. If I have a trailer on there and somebody comes around that corner at the speed some of those people are coming around, I'm afraid of getting hit there. I'd like to see a little bit of how many we're talking about there for something else up there. You've got a speed sign that's around the corner, just before the crosswalk, where people aren't, it's so high in the air, they come around that corner, they never see the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. At the last meeting, what, a year ago, I said, can't we move the 25-mile-an-hour sign up around the corner? Can't we put one of those little, we used to have a trailer with speed readout, you know, and tell people how fast they're going? You know, people are going 35, 40 miles an hour around that corner and through that intersection. To me, that is a lot more dangerous than First down here, you know. People shouldn't be going that fast. You've got 2 or 3 times the sight line at First as what you do if you're trying to pull off of 4th Street and make a left or go across towards the Cozy Corner there. That's another really bad intersection, and with Halloween Town getting ready to come up, you know, that makes it really hard for me to get out of there, especially on the weekend and stuff, because sometimes I'd consider coming down through the town down here, but if it's all tied up with congestion or the roads are closed, I only got one way to get out of my neighborhood. That's 4th, you know, and you got a lot of people up there and got vehicles bigger than mine and trailers bigger than mine trying to come out of that intersection, you know. So I'd really still love to see something done to that intersection to make it a little safer for people pulling out, you know. The other question I have for you guys is, I want to say, I really like them. I think they're really neat. But have you guys heard on the veneer plant property, it's being turned into a RC-controlled airport now. We have at least 2 different people that are flying. Luckily, they're battery powered, but they're jets. And one of them has 3 of them, so like for 45 minutes to an hour, a lot of evenings or on Saturdays or Sundays, you have jets that are streaming around the veneer plant property, coming really close to the osprey. I've noticed less osprey in my neighborhood this year because of, I'm attributing it. They're being spooked a little bit by these big, huge silver things. One of them has almost a 3-foot wingspan. It's a replica of an F-16 or whatever. And they're moving. The other day, when they got done a few minutes later, geese flew by over my house, which had been doing it for ever since I've lived up there for 19 years, lower than where those guys are flying. So I'm very concerned, you know, is that an approved use for the veneer plant property to have radio-controlled airplanes? They're flying sometimes only 30, 40, 50 feet above people's heads. I literally was walking where you say trail with the arrow, and I had one of the guys, it's running out of power, can you move out of the way? Is that really the use we want out there? What happens if we start getting even more of them out there flying like this? What's the city's idea on, is this an approved use for it? I know when we did the waterfront development plan, we never thought about it becoming an airport out there for radio-controlled airplanes. So I don't know what you want to think on that one. You know, I mean, they're really neat. I just don't think they belong on our waterfront, flying over people's heads, the liability, what happens if one goes out of control, the battery goes out prematurely, something jams the radio signal. If they're flying that close to people and as fast as they're going, it's real amazing how fast these things are. So I would like you guys to put some thought into that. Where does the city really stand? Do we want that to become a radio-controlled airport or not? So I don't know what your views are on that, but it's easier to stop it now than getting another 4 or 5 guys out there that have seen these other ones and they start telling their buddies, and suddenly they're out there all day long flying these things, you know. So that's something for you guys to think about. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Pam.
Could you state your name for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Christopher Neal Matthews, and I have been a targeted individual in the gang stalking program for 8+ years. I don't know how I was put into this program. I don't know if any of you are aware of what is going on, but it's covert stalking, harassment, torture. Everywhere I go, I'm followed, an alert goes out. It sounds insane, but if you do any sort of research, you realize what I'm saying is the truth. I'm the only one that has spoken the truth on this matter. These people lie, they manipulate. They've lied to my family, all my friends turned against me for a reason they can't even give me. Nobody's given me a reason whatsoever. They spread their lies and their hate rhetoric, and I mean, they'll practically hit me in the street. I've been jumped 3 different times, once with a baseball bat by 3 different people, and another time by a couple other guys. I mean, this isn't a joke. People think it's funny because they're getting away with the crime and they're all participating in it together. And that's the thing. You go to the cops, you go to the FBI, their hands are tied. For what? I'll face my accusers. Let's have a trial. You know, there's no reason for this. It's to drive me insane. My phone's hacked. It's 24/7. There's electronic harassment. There's so much that goes into this that I don't think these people are really aware of that participate in the street theater and I mean, they go by my house 24/7. I live right off. Stay with my grandma. I've always had a job before this. Before this, I always had a job. Since this, it's been really hard.
Hey, Chris, I didn't mean to interrupt. I can take your information. This diocese here is probably not the best, and I'd like to talk to you more away from everybody, because this is, unless you have anything pertinent reference city, your safety is our concern. And if you want to talk to me offline out here, I definitely listen to you, and, so you don't have to.
I just don't have a platform to speak of. Nobody will really listen to me because.
This is the first time I've heard of it, and I'd love to listen to you and get your information. So if you want to step
I didn't
out.
want to waste anybody's time. I just want.
Well, you're not wasting
people
time,
to
but I
be
think
aware.
the reality is I'll be the person to kind of liaison and help you. So I'll take you outside and we can talk and help you out. That way we free up council's time. So you got a second? We'll go outside and I'll get all your
Yeah,
information. And,
I'm sorry.
we're here to help you.
This is just how it goes. I'm silenced, when I'm starting
No,
to speak to a group. I'm
We
sorry.
would have
that's-
asked you, we would have asked him to help you.
Right.
I'm sorry.
You're not wasting time, Chris.
understand.
We'll
I
just.
Yeah.
We want
And
him to
right.
help you.
It's
We hear you
just
and we
it's
want
very
him to do his
frustrating.
job.
You try to do the right things and nobody
Yeah.
will.
I know another person with the same problem,
I'm
so,
labeled mentally ill and I'm labeled a drug addict even when I'm not doing drugs, and even when I'm taking my medications. Come to find out, it's not mental illness. My own family. Anyway, I'll talk to him. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, folks.
No, that's great. It's a good place to come and get to the right. get to the
thank
bottom
you
of
for
it.
coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Resolution 1864, a resolution of the City of St. Helens City Council authorizing application for grant to the Department of Land Conservation and Development.
Move we adopt resolution number 1864.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve resolution 1864. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, approve and authorize for signature. A, First Amendment to CR Contracting LLC contract for 2019 crack sealing project. B, utility easement granted to Portland General Electric on St. Helens Industrial Park. C, scope of work with Kittleson and Associates for intersection improvements at South First Street and St. Helens Street.
I have questions.
Make a motion.
Make a motion.
Yep, make a motion first. And there will be second, then I'll call it the question. And that's
Well,
how,
what
we-
if- what
that's
if-
how we go through it. We can strike it then if we need to amend it. Okay, let's call the question. Go ahead.
I'll motion that we approve and authorize for signature 5 A through C is read.
Second. Okay.
Second.
Now-
Question.
Now question.
We've received an email, but aside from the email, there's testimony here.
Yes.
And just because of the process I've been through, the amount of corridor stuff, the amount of times that
Yes.
intersection's been looked at, I was somewhat taken aback by the cost of the scope of work as well.
Okay. And so,
Given, I mean, this is my assumption. I mean, crazy me. If I go to some place and they do work on my car and they always work on my car and they always give me estimates, and it's like they already gave me the estimate, they know what they're doing. So I would take the work back to them because it would save me money rather than start new.
correct.
And so then I'm thinking it's like if it, for that dollar amount, every other time we've spent that dollar amount, we've gone out for a request for proposal and we've been more competitive about bids. We've not just gone to somebody and written them a check. So that just makes me really nervous as far as not feeling like we did our diligence.
Okay. And that would be your prerogative, but so that you understand, in current Oregon law with professional services, which would include engineering services, surveying services, you can't ask for a price up front. And so if you wanted to you can't ask for competitive bids for that type of work. You can ask for a call for qualifications, and you can get submittals of different qualifications, and then you can go through them and say, okay, I like firm A, let's talk to them. So you talk to them, and then they come up with their scope of work, and then after you agree on the scope of work, then they'll give you a price. That's somewhat similar to what we did with Kittleson, but you can do it direct hire. You don't have to go through that process as long as the contract is under $100,000. So in the sake of time, and because of the familiarity and the background that Kittleson has with our whole entire transportation system, not just this one intersection, it seemed prudent to go to them and ask them to put together the scope of work based on what everybody wanted to see at that intersection. This is what they've come back with. Certainly, if you're not satisfied with that, we can go through another process, either by directly calling somebody else and going through the process with them. They're going to have a little bit more effort to get more familiar with the project than Kittleson would, and therefore it's probable that the cost would be higher based on that. Now, that Kittleson contract that you're looking at is all inclusive of a lot of different parts. And all of those different tasks don't necessarily have to be completed to their finality. They're in there so that if anything goes wrong, if the worst case scenario happens during the process of design, there's those hours in there to cover that. It also covers not just the upfront design work, but it covers putting together all the specifications. It covers all of the bidding process while the project's being bid. It covers construction so that they are there to support the city, perform inspections. Before the project goes out to bid, they would also come in and do a presentation to the city. Throughout the whole entire process, there would be regular meetings with city staff to ensure that the project was being tracked on time. So there's a lot of time built in for all of those elements. Also, there's a good deal built into their estimate to do landscaping, because the wish was to have that intersection be like a catalyst for the rest of the development and the rest of the improvements for the downtown corridor area. So that really should be a showstopper intersection. At least that was what I understood the wishes of the council to be there. So landscaping is incorporated into that. Now, it could be that if you look at their tasks, one of the very first ones listed is preliminary design. Now you go, well, they've already done a preliminary design. They've done a conceptual design. A preliminary design will include surveying so they understand more how to tie all these things in and get a little bit more details, and then come up with some alternatives. So that at that point in time, when they have a general idea of how the configuration is going to work, they can come to the council, do a presentation, and say, gosh, this is what generally this intersection is going to look like, but now we have some opportunities here to maybe are you interested in doing the stamped concrete for crosswalks? Are you interested in doing areas with live plantings? Are you interested in just having some areas for future artwork? How do you want this concrete to look? Do you want, what type of lighting do you want? These are all things that would be put together by the landscaping firm. Now, if you say, nah, we don't want any of that, let's just do concrete, that whole entire landscaping section of their contract, poof, goes away. If you decide you just want all hardscape, almost half of that landscaping portion of their estimate goes away, because they don't have to then put together an actual landscape plan and put together bid sheets and specifications and irrigation plans for landscaping, for live plantings. If you just want decorative hardscape would be a lot easier and faster to put together the plans for. So there's a lot of contingency in that, depending on what how the council wants that intersection to ultimately appear. Aesthetically, functionality is going to be the underlying basis of the full design, but the aesthetics of the whole project will the council will have a little bit of input on which way that goes, and that'll affect the bottom line of that cost for putting together the project.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying, and I appreciate the enthusiasm of the council to move and go forward on this intersection. However, I recall that discussion, and I cautioned everyone about that, is that can't we wait for the urban renewal to kick in before we do our Main Street corridor in that area to work with it out? I remember weighing in on that. I knew it would be, I thought it'd be more. I thought it'd be more than $250,000. It's like all the stuff that has to happen is massive. And so, you just hit on a portion of what needs to happen.
Right.
And in terms of the engineering doing this and whatever. And I agree with Frank about maybe now isn't the time to do this, and maybe we could wait. I would urge that. So I had to weigh in on that now, because I don't see a sense of urgency with this.
So for myself, I respectfully disagree, and the speed limit is already 20. And this is nothing against, but I've been living here all my life. We've been waiting for this for 46 years, for this town to grow. Go take a look around Oregon, Washington, and see how far. Yes, we are a beautiful town, but see how far we have to really get to where, and it matches all the planning that has been done. I mean, if we just keep saying tomorrow we'll do it, tomorrow I'll do it, honey, tomorrow I'll do it, and tomorrow never comes. I apologize, but my job so the scope of work I would like to talk a little bit about, because that's really what's in the question here. I don't think it's really more of the intersection. So the engineering, they're going to follow the project all the way through. Is that
Correct.
Part of the cost?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay,
It goes until through the end of construction.
They follow it and track
Correct.
it and make sure all the specifications are met that are in.
Yeah, exactly. That's
And-
part of
And
their
it's pretty
responsibilities.
typical. My understanding is engineers get paid very well on bigger projects to follow those through. What is the estimated cost that they get percentage-wise off of?
Yeah, so you,
projects?
for a public works improvement project.
Which is also a public works. We're talking
Right.
government spending here. This isn't private money. This is not private money. This is where
Yeah.
Trump, I think, is right, where he says, the private-public partnership for infrastructure needs to happen in order to this United States in order to get it done right and at a cost that is affordable. If we did all public federal funding, we would be way completely under. This is one thing I agree with him on.
Right, so for public improvement projects, typically you budget about 30% of the overall cost for your engineering services, and that's for services throughout the project.
Okay. All right.
So this would be less than 30% of what the overall project is budgeted. And there was a comment that looking at some of the previous plans that were made, that the cost of this seemed exorbitant. But if you look at, I'm looking right now at the corridor master plan, the estimates for per intersection for doing things such as curb extensions and the pedestrian improvements and the things that we're proposing, the estimate for that is $325,000 per intersection, with 30% of that being design and construction.
Okay. So it's
Con-
something that's
construction
already-
contingency,
It's
yeah.
already something that's been, I know it's a big, long, the corridor is really segmented out, but we've
Correct.
got the public outreach on that.
Correct.
And,
My impression is
pass
they
on.
buttered the bread on both sides of this one. The engineering time and cost is, I feel, out of line. But then, as you said, it's a public job, so we get scrape both directions. The question I'd like to know is, how do we ask for a second bid? Now, that's where the silly laws and all kind of get in the way. Because
Right.
I would say we really need a competitive bid on this.
You're-
And some of the stuff that is put in obviously should be pulled out just on cost. Now, good engineering looks into how much the people have to spend as compared to, well, we got a number, let's fill the whole bag up. I have real reservations about both the cost and their extent of work.
I agree with that. I wish that we could get competitive bids, but law does not allow us to do that. So if we reject this, and we go to somebody else.
And so the method to get another bid is reject this and basically start over.
Start over from
Okay.
scratch.
Well, it results in a delay because we have to go out.
A significant delay, yes.
Yeah, the path that we're on is the most expeditious path as far as using the people we know. It's under the threshold limits. The next step would be to dismiss this, go out for requests for qualifications, do a solicitation, come back and see. But Councilor Morton raised an interesting point about how this project interfaces with the Urban Renewal Agency, and there may be some funding strategies to be a project of the Urban Renewal Agency, if there's a will to move this along, and basically the tax increment that's collected pays for that that project. So,
And again, not all tasks listed on that estimate would end up being fulfilled. So those are all things that would be at the most possible effort, and not all of those would necessarily be.
I guess my whole thing,
Completed.
you know, and I don't live downtown, and I respect your guys', you know, your challenges and stuff, and it is 20 miles an hour. Speed limit is 20, so we're supposed to be doing 20. A little bit, yes, me too. You know, we're just trying to help the city along. We look at the revitalization of our downtown area, and how it is the heart of a lot of other cities as well as their downtowns. And we're just trying to bring it to life, and the building owners are doing some stuff, and the city's just trying to add to and make better livability down here. We're not out to spend a bunch of money foolishly. We're out actually really trying to make your neighborhood a little bit nicer. And I understand that there was also an email from Al Peterson that has stake down here, his mother and himself, and concerns of cost. you know, that's where I'm coming from. That was what we based our decision off of. Obviously, it's right in that scope of work that was approved by the Urban Renewal Agency as far as scope of work and area. And it is one of those areas that is targeted. We do have multiple ways of doing it. And I hope that once the urban renewal really kicks in, because it's going to, that we don't have, I'm hoping everybody appreciates that we're going to be doing a lot of intersections, and they're going to cost a lot of money. That's just the way it is. The world is today. That's unfortunate. Economy's good. It all makes a difference. Unfortunate.
Yeah, it's always surprising how much, you look at the Millard Road signalization and that how much that project's just tolling in the millions of dollars just to put up
A stoplight,
for
couple stoplights and
for signals, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to it.
so,
But urban renewal is definitely a tool that can help facilitate this along, and even with the existing amount of tax increment.
yes, yeah.
collected.
I follow what you're saying.
Yeah.
So,
The operational question, we have three things bundled together. Can we separate out C and vote on that separately, or we have to?
yes, we always have that power too.
Can I make a motion, we separate that out, or how does that happen?
We got to vote on we got to vote because there's a second and a motion, so we got to vote on that motion.
May I make a comment on item B?
Yes, you may.
So there was a revised easement
Good.
regarding the PGE request for an easement on, over on the industrial site property.
Yep.
And they've added language, they did not have a method to be able to, as the suggestion was, to go back after 20 years, and they didn't have a method to do that. But they did add language into the easement, the proposed easement, that's if the grantee fails to use the easement for the purposes described in this instrument for a period of 5 consecutive years, the easement may be terminated by the grantor, provided the grantor provides the grantee written notice of the grantor's intent and blah, blah, blah. So there is a provision in there to extinguish that without having to go through some sort of a formal process, just automatically within the language of the easement.
So before we strike all that, I just want to make one more comment on C, and thank you for clarifying on B, because we asked for that last meeting. That the scope of work we are asking for is not just an intersection. So
That's
if the media usually likes to watch, because they're not here, they like to watch this, that this intersection was not just going to be an ordinary intersection. It was going to have very nice light poles, beefed up enough to hold a kiosk in the future for branding and wayfinding, with metal decorative art and stamped concrete and stuff like that. So, yes, sounds expensive for an intersection, but the quality is what you see around other cities that you go, man, this intersection just looks nice in this city. Those are the type of intersections we are looking for here. So for anybody out there watching or questioning, or if the paper is going to write on it, that's what this council was looking for. And it's getting stricken from it right now, is what I understand, and that's sad. So, but we'll move on and carry on with city business. So, we have a motion made and seconded to approve A, authorized for signature 5A through C. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So, now I know we would like to amend it, so would somebody like to make a motion?
I'd like to move, we approve and authorize for signatures items A, or 5A and B.
Second?
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve and authorize for signature 5A and B. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
I got a question on the striking of C. What I'd like to see from the council is a recommendation that we put this on the agenda, on our next work session agenda, so that we can clarify what the parameters were for C and do any adjustments that we would like to see so that we can, if we do go forward on it, those adjustments can be heard and worked through. And so I'd like to see that on our,
That would be awesome.
on our agenda.
I definitely want more concerted effort to look at that.
You wanted a little more time, so
More
did I.
time to look at it together.
Counselor Morton, would you like the consultant to see if we can have the consultant here for
That
that
would
work
be
session?
great.
Yes.
If we
Okay.
could have our consultant
I will
here.
see if they're available
Yeah.
for a representative.
I mean, this is the first step, and
Mhm,
it's like,
I
we
agree.
want to just kind of slow down and take our time and make a good step.
Certainly, yes. We want to make sure we make the right decisions, yes. It's an important,
It's a
important
big
project.
investment.
It's a very big investment. There's no doubt about that.
Will there be public hearings on that?
It wouldn't require a public hearing. They did have in their schedule, in their budget, to come and do a presentation for the council, which of course would be open to the public at a work session. If you want them to add public hearings, that would come at an additional cost because it's not currently in their scope.
Yeah, I'm not ready for a public
Yeah,
hearing.
I think if they just come and it's all part of the agenda, people will have the freedom to write in. Just like they
Absolutely,
always do, they'll have the freedom to come here.
absolutely. I'll see if they're available
I
for the next meeting.
appreciate that offer.
You
That's
bet.
great.
I just,
So it was a request from the council, for the council to, and maybe the mayor, if you could ask for a head nod, I guess that's all it would take to put
Oh,
it on the agenda.
oh, we don't have, you need a head nod. We can just do.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
good enough.
Yep. I'm pretty relaxed as far as mayor. I control that and it's there.
I like that.
I just, I hope people understand the vision that actually, I know it's hard to comprehend for a lot of citizens, but there is a vision that the city actually sees, and please trust the process and allow us to move forward. We are going to get there. Please, that's all, my last little rant on that. Okay, 6, consent agenda for acceptance. A, planning commission meetings minutes dated meetings. Planning commission minutes dated August 13th, 2019, and B, library board minutes dated August 12th, 2019.
Move we approve consent agenda for acceptance, items A and B.
Second?
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve consent agenda A and B. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, consent agenda for approval. A, council work sessions, executive session, public hearing, and regular session minutes dated August 21st, 2019. Pre-treatment coordinator job description. C, bailiff job description. And D, accounts payable bill list.
Move we approve consent agenda for approval, items A through D.
Second?
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve consent agenda 7A through D. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, well, we're taking off for the league later next week. I always look forward to that. There's a lot to learn at those type of events. And Councilor Topaz, I think this will be your first. And yeah, it's definitely a lot of different lobbyists. It'll open your eyes just a little bit. There'll be a little bit of lobbying going on there, and a lot of businesses that have deal in public works type stuff and all kinds of stuff. A lot of elected officials, and very helpful, very educational. Love the workshops, most of them. I'm not gonna lie. Most of them. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes you get in on one, it's like, this really isn't my thing. But looking forward to that, and it's always a good time to network. So definitely glad to be going there. So
You're allowed to leave those. You can go to another one if you want.
I know, but I'm too stubborn. Too stubborn. I keep waiting for that aha moment because I knew I was interested in it. You know what I mean? Because we get to choose from 4 or 5, or actually a couple usually at a time. Yes, at least a couple minimum. So, okay, that's all I got. Council President Morton.
Yeah, I was looking forward to a dedication of our Veterans Memorial Plaza. And as everyone knows, we have a huge Veterans Day ceremony at 11 o'clock, October 11th. And we usually have 200 to 300 people. Did I say October?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, November. That would be 11. Right. Yes. Strike that. So anyway, I was talking about it with the mayor, and the mayor said, you basically said that you're getting a little pushback from some of the veterans, or maybe one or several,
Just a few
about
that I heard of.
yeah, about that. And so I'm going to ask the council what an appropriate time would be for a dedication of that park, because it's going to be ready for November 11th at 11 a.m. And so if you have any ideas, maybe I'd like to hear about them now. So when I sit in with the veterans and people are organizing the ceremony, I kind of can weigh in on how we can do our dedication. So if you have any ideas.
What's the pushback? I mean, the veterans are a mixed bag. Some of the people just are curmudgeons, and they don't have anybody to talk to, so they come and complain. Some of them.
I'll try to.
to one right here.
I'll try to speak a little bit on their behalf, just a little bit, because I can't speak really completely 100% for them. But I think they would rather. They felt that it got a little more political last go around than it was more about, look what we're doing. Even though they were part of that process, the guys felt not the veterans that are helping the project along, but the other guys felt that this is not what as veterans is mainly a reflection of my brothers, especially my brothers that I lost.
Right.
And here we are talking government stuff. So what Doug is saying is maybe we can do the dedication, the city stuff, and the opening of the park, and that prior to. And I think I'm the one that brought it to his attention. So I will take it on the chin if somebody says I was wrong, but I know I wasn't.
I think that I mentioned to Councilor Morton after some folks had laughed, I think that separating it out works for me, because I've been to a couple of those, and they're so ritualistic memorial, and they want to keep it clean. It's like, imagine if you remember your grandmother and somebody came in and says, wait, I have this new table. And it's like, you'd be like, no, we don't do that here.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, because they are, military is very by the book, and this is the order that things happen in. Mm-hmm. And I thought that maybe that having the dedication prior would be an opportunity to get newspaper coverage, invite people out to the memorial,
Yes.
get it in the paper, so more people would be able to, it would get more people to the event and get the publicity for those folks that did that volunteering, and get it separate, so they get their day in the sun and the veterans get their day in the sun. So
As
we're
separate
gonna-
as a separate thing.
Separate deal.
Because it's a holy to them. I mean, it's an emotional thing when you've been there. And I think that's probably, I think the way we PR'd it was probably what's wrong, not the fact that you got to do two things.
Right.
Got to separate the two things happening.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned to Councilor Morton that that's a good role for the chamber to do. Then we're not patting ourselves on the back. They do ribbon cuttings for all the businesses. They do ribbon coverings, openings for businesses, openings for events. And it's like, then it's a community event, not a city event supporting city. It's a community event for everybody. And I mean, I don't know how people feel or if they're open to that, but I thought that might clean up some of this is a community event and this is a veteran event where community's invited. I just want to give the veterans the respect they have earned.
Thank you. Before I moved to this city in 2004, 2005, I've spent almost every first light on Veterans Day at the State Memorial up in Portland, up by the old zoo, in that area. So there was a bunch of us that it started out with 10 or 12 people up there, at dawn. And it ended up with maybe 30 or 40 people, and it became kind of a ritual. And it was very interesting. So what you're saying about kind of a sacred time on that day is very important. It's very important for some of the people. So I respect what happened with, a call from a veteran to you telling me that. So, yeah, when I go to that little organizational meeting of how that day is going to unfold and who's going to do what or whatever, I'll bring that up and possibly maybe think about maybe 2 weeks earlier in the 1st of November, somewhere along there, that
That's
we
what-
could have a dedication.
I was thinking Friday's the 1st, and that would give Crystal the opportunity to go down and take some pictures too. If we could do it like 4:30, I don't know if that would work with
That works great.
you know.
I don't know. Keith, you have any
Whatever
You
works
and
for
I.
you.
whatever? Okay.
Yeah, I just, after I thought about it for a minute, my son did the DC trip and his class got to lay the wreath and they had to have certain outfits and they had to have they literally were coached at how to be spectators at that wreath laying. So, I mean, they have ways of doing things and it's best just to let them have their way of doing things. You just don't want to offend that group of folks. They've been through
Without a
that.
doubt. Without a doubt. It's their day.
But
and-
thank you
and-
for
and-
following this through. It's been a
well,
long road.
Yeah, and we want to be flexible, don't we?
Right.
We want to listen to what people are saying, and I appreciate that.
For
Getting
sure.
back to me and filtering down that way.
Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's it for me.
Thank you. Councilor Topaz.
I don't have anything now. I'm fine.
Okay. Councilor Carlson?
I have, at first, when somebody mentioned, it's funny, all of the public input was like in my old neighborhood, so you kind of, wait, just let those plane flyers fly their planes. But then I thought, out here on the park, there's no bicycles. There's no motorized anything allowed out there. So I would think that motorized things on ground versus motorized things in the air would probably be the same bubble. And it's just, why would you be able to fly a plane if you can't ride a motorbike?
I know they're supposed to follow SCC rules, which
Yeah.
I could be wrong, Howard, but I think planes and helicopters are allowed to fly. I see the Bush planes out there flying all the time and water planes. I could be wrong, but I'm not going to go there as far as stepping on their rules.
We need to
'cause I
we
know-
need to double check what is over there,
know
because
our
we have
city-
posted no bikes
Yes.
over there. And so if we don't let the kids play
Yeah.
on the ground, why are we doing that? And, I mean, just kind of look into it, maybe send it back to park.
I'm not.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, we have a League of Oregon Cities kind of thing coming up here pretty quick, and it'd be really good to bring that up as an item at the LOC, some of their outbreak sessions, and see what the and they have attorneys there. They have everything there. I know that I'm sure that some cities have ordinances of flying over community residential areas and or public spaces, but there's got to be a place for these people. And I know
If
that
not,
there
they're
was
there.
at one time up around Yankton, by the pumpkin patch up there, that people would fly a lot of their model airplanes. That was the designated area. So.
There was a place on the main highway just before you get to, where is it?
Tide Creek,
Yeah, by Tide Creek there,
Yeah.
yeah. Do they still go there?
I imagine they do.
Yes, I've seen some people down
Yeah,
there.
it's
So there are
club, yeah.
places.
Wish I had
And
some
I would think that, like, drones aren't supposed to be in town, so.
Anyway,
kind of
Yeah,
fall-
yeah, there are FCC.
They are, but I don't think they're supposed to.
There are FAA rules even on flying kites with altitude, and drones the same thing. I mean, there's a bunch of federal law on altitudes and places, even before we get to what the towns can do. Kites bother Osprey too. They attack kites nicely. I can tell you that.
So, the other topic was, the 20's plenty, and I brought that up in this room, because the speed limit is actually 25. There isn't, 20 is a school zone, 25 is the speed limit on most of our streets unless you're in front of a school.
Isn't it posted up here, 20? Yeah, I have a
Yeah,
bigger, okay.
it's 20,
right.
I think it turns to 20, as
Right
you come down
after-
Old Portland Road, it turns to St. Helens Street there at 4th, I believe that turns to 20, but it's also 20 down, First Street.
Yes, always has been.
Now, the
Yes, I only see the
4th
25.
Street, St. Helens Street,
Oh, so-
Old Portland Road is a speedway. It's a blind speedway. The people that miss that corner, something is got to be, I think, more than signs, but it is a dangerous thing. And if you really want to have a interesting half hour, you may want to talk to Jeff, the detailer. He's got cameras that will show you some of the disasters that almost happened on that corner. He's got a very good record of disaster.
Anyways, I mean, it's proven that slowing cars down even 5 miles an hour does affect the safety of the neighborhoods. They did the 20 is plenty in a couple of communities, and literally, it was like the difference of hitting a person and not hitting a person.
Yeah.
It wasn't like sometimes you hit them, sometimes you don't. It's like when people do 20, they don't hit people. So, but that's all I have. It's just, it is what it is. There's traffic rules that we have to follow, and we hope that Sue's heard your comments. I saw her busily making notes because that's how we are getting sidewalks up on Vernonia, is by public feedback and the council making a priority. As we take that in and see what we can do, it has to start somewhere. Nothing's instant with government, but the other thing I mentioned it earlier is this Saturday is the Suicide Awareness Prevention Walk in Scappoose, and Sunday is the event at the Caples House. And if it's raining real hard, there's always something happening at the library. That's all I got.
Good plugs.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jenny. Counselor Locke.
Nothing further.
Okay. Department reports. Chief, you got anything? No?
Nothing further, Mr.
Okay.
Mayor.
Thank you for helping that young man out.
Very much appreciate
Yep. Sue?
Nothing else tonight, thank you.
Margaret? Okay, Matt?
I'm done.
Crystal? Tina has, yeah, she has something. John?
A couple things. So not to beat the drone thing or the unmanned vehicles to death here, but the state has preempted cities' authority to regulate those.
Oh, really?
So that was, right when that was approved, there was, if you recall, there was a bunch of scuttle about cities wanting to, excuse me, regulate these, and that authority was taken away. So there may be other things people are doing to time, place, manner type things perhaps, but I don't know. We can look into that.
That
but,
was my thing, is the
yeah.
time, place, manner. And it's because the park's only open certain hours. You know, that, the park is only open certain hours. That's the fact. So,
And the other thing I omitted from my afternoon report was the council retreat, the facilitator, we're working on developing an agenda, so October 9th.
Yep, I'm good?
We're good.
Good. All right, thank you, John, for doing that, getting that lined up. All right. Any go-backs? Okay, we're adjourned.
Yeah, that 4th Street intersection is good. You know how wide the area is there?
80 feet.
You know how many people burn gravel?